Hi everybody, this video is meant to explain how I completed my Shimano 105 to Shimano DI2 Ultegra conversion with minimal expense. And basically this is going to give you a parts overview and like how I set it up. It might not work for everybody. I have a one buy setup on my bike. As you can see, it's on the indoor trainer right now, but it's exactly what I was looking for. And if I wanted to, I could add the front derailleur and do synchro shift, and it would still work. So what I did, to give you an overview, I got the Ultegra 8050 rear derailleur, DI2 rear derailleur. This is a cable going into the internal junction, which is, I used a 1000 millimeter cable, but in reality I could have used a 8500 or 850 millimeter, or maybe a 900 millimeter. It's just what I was able to find on eBay. As you can see, I have internal routing. I haven't gotten the grommets yet. They're coming in the mail in a couple of days, so they'll be nice and flush. This is the original grommet from the bike. This was a mechanical 105, and to compare, if I would have done the full conversion kit, which are sold online, I would have had to spend somewhere around $1,600 to $1,800 if the kit was available. There are cheaper options. If you have rim brakes, you could probably get away with $1,100 to $1,200. I have hydraulic brakes, which the brake on this training wheel is missing because you're not supposed to press the brake on the trainer. And those shifters are more expensive and a lot harder to find in the DI2 version. Those are the 8070 shifters. If you're looking into doing a conversion and you have hydraulic brakes, I would recommend looking at the 8070 version. So that's a ST87 R8070 RD, I believe, is the part number for the Shimano shifters, which I did not buy, and that is basically how I saved a ton of money. I also don't have the front derailleur because I have a one buy setup with a this is an absolute black gravel one by specific chain ring on my original 105 crankset. What I did is I routed the rear derailleur to a junction box, which is under my bottle cage. On the Trek Domane, there's enough space in here to open this compartment up, put the battery in there, and the internal junction is also in there. And basically that's all I have in here. The battery is mounted onto this little plate with two zip ties. There is a kit that Trek sells. I think it's $10 or $12. I just didn't buy it because zip ties work and I just didn't need to. So I've already sealed this up. I'm not gonna open it up to show you, but it has an internal junction, which is a very small junction with 4 ports on it. I'll list the part numbers that I bought so you can see. Then I have a cable to the battery, which I used a very short cable because I knew they're gonna be in the same area. If you're gonna have a battery up here in your seat post or seat mast, I have a seat mast unfortunately on a Domane, so it's wider. But you could mount it in the seat post and run a cable down. Depending on where your junction is, you're gonna have to measure this length. So in my case, the junction and the battery are both right under here, so I needed the shortest cable. Unfortunately, there isn't a price difference between the short and the long cables with Shimano. They're all around $25 to $30 depending on where you get them. I got mine off of eBay. So that's all I have under here. The battery, which is also very expensive, by the way. The internal battery, which is the long one that looks like a triple AA battery, just stacked on top of each other. And then the junction and the cable from the battery and the cable going back to the derailleur. I was able to route this cable through by, when I pulled out the mechanical cable for the old derailleur, I just tied this cable here on with a with electrical tape, and I just pulled it through all the way to the bottom bracket, which I did not take off because there's little holes on the bottom. I was able to fish out the cable end, disconnected, reconnected to where I needed to pull it out of, and then basically I ran it up here. So this is where that cable ends into the junction. Now there's another cable that goes in from Junction A, which is your control center, to the internal junction where the battery is mounted. And this cable is basically all you need from the external junction to the internal junction. This is a 650 millimeter cable, which I also got off of eBay. Again, they're the same price. That was $25. Apparently length doesn't matter. And then I was very lucky because this is a $82 junction. I believe if you're lucky you can find it online for maybe $70. I got this for $35 as a takeoff from a brand new bike. The guy just didn't need it. I found it on Craigslist, so just check your options. There's a lot of different sites that might have this. You don't have to get a brand new one, even a used one will do. But what I found is on eBay, even the used ones were selling for $60 to $70, and this was new for $35. I had to go 10 miles to pick it up, which was pretty awesome. This is the steal of a lifetime right there. And then, now here comes the fun part. You need shifters. So to control the rear derailleur, you need shifters. This shifter is my original 105 shifter, which actually isn't even a labeled 105. It's kind of a generic 105, but it is a same part number. If I would have had to get the shifter or both shifters, that would have been another at least $300 to $500, which is where I saved huge. Because what I did is I got one of these. This is a TT time trial shifter, and this is, not even sure, I think it's the left one, or the right one, I'm sorry. And what I did is I took out the little board that's in there, which is sealed, and instead of using these buttons, I just put it in here under the hood. As you can see, it's bulging out. I don't have it on this side, so I only have it on this side. You can see it right there a little bit. I don't want to dislodge it. So this is a board with the two buttons on it, and it's very small. It's compared to the size of this button, the board is probably about maybe 20-25 millimeters long, and it's very narrow. It's probably, or actually in length, it's probably the length of the width of this button, and it's just very small compared to this bulky button that I wasn't really sure where to put. But I found online that these buttons have the same functionality as a regular shifter. They have the up and down, and technically this is a universal one, so I could use it to control the front or rear derailleur. I just have to program it in the E2 app, and I can choose whether I want to do 2-speed or 11-speed, or I don't know if it works with any less, like a 10-speed or whatever not. But I was able to get this for I believe it was $56. It is used, but it's in great shape. Same thing with the derailleur. It's actually used. It said it was a takeoff, but I really don't think it was just a takeoff, because I see some sand and it doesn't have any scratches or anything, so it's in really good shape and it works. But I don't think it's a brand new derailleur. and it didn't come in the packaging. So anyway, this is a one buy, so all I needed was the shifter to work with the rear derailleur. That's basically all I'm doing here. You do need all these parts in the middle to connect everything. And eventually this is a good setup because I can still add the rear or the front derailleur. I can add another shifter because I still have an open port here. I've put in a plug to cover this up. But otherwise this is a functioning one by Shimano DI2 setup on a Trek Domane SL5, which is pretty cool. A few things you could, this button, because it's a time trial button, this comes with a very long cable. So the usual buttons, like the climbing buttons, for example, Shimano has a climbing shifter, which is usually plugged into the shifter here. You could also plug it directly into the DI2 port and it's still gonna work just as it was intended, but the difference is the climbing shifter only works on the rear derailleur. It does not work on the front. Same thing if you get the sprint switches, actually the sprint switches cannot be used because then you can only use them as a up or down. Each button only has one function. They would fit a little bit better under here, but it wasn't going to work for me because I wanted to have the most compact option. The only problem I found with this button is because it's a time trial button and it's intended to be up here on the end of your aero bars, the cable goes all the way from the button. Well, if it was installed in here, it would be all the way from up here down to, you know, the end of your aero bars or wherever that's going to come out, and then it's intended to plug into the actual shifter. So this is the actual length. You know, it's a pretty long cable. So I had to like fold it up and tape it up underneath. So it's not the prettiest option, but it works for me. It works for now. And that's kind of what's important. I wasn't even sure that this button alone will work, but it does. And it's pretty sweet. So let me show you real quick. I have what's interesting is also this button, the interior housing of it is also, it's actually what's waterproof. It's not the exterior housing. So as long as you don't remove the white cap on top of the two buttons that houses the little motherboard in there, or you know, whatever it is, you're still waterproof. And putting it under the hood, still waterproof. I actually plan on using a heat shrink tube to conceal it inside, and I'll probably cut out a hole on here so I have easier access to the buttons. But here it is. So I have the up, and let's do down. Let's do a couple of gears, and it works. So this is my DI2 Ultegra 8050 setup. It's a hack job, but it works and it's pretty damn smooth. And the shifting is pretty awesome. It's definitely quieter than my previous derailleur, the 105. It's pretty awesome. Well, that's it. Thank you.